The court had been in session for 3 weeks and the case for the prosecution was coming to a close. But before Marshall and Bush were called to the stand, there was another unexpected twist in proceedings.
To tonight's other news now, and a man who's on trial for killing his colleague and then scattering his body parts across Hertfordshire and Leicestershire has pleaded guilty to murder.
It's particularly rare for anybody charged with murder to plead guilty because of the nature of the offence that they're charged with and the potential sentence that they're going to receive. So it's very rare for anybody to plead guilty to start with, but to actually then start a trial and to change your plea halfway through the trial is even more rare. Certainly an experience that I've not had before. It was only at the end of the prosecution case that such was the wealth of the evidence that we'd presented that Marshall finally turned around and pleaded guilty.
I think he had to change his plea. I think he had nowhere else to go. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The standard of the witnesses that gave evidence at court was outstanding also. And I think that he realised that the following day or later on that day he would be asked to account for his actions.
And with Marshall's change of plea, the charge of murder against Sarah Bush was withdrawn.
Bush pleaded not guilty to all the charges against her at the start, but then at the end, when Marshall had pleaded guilty to murder, Bush then admitted some lesser charges. She admitted helping to dispose of the body parts and giving the police false information about the whereabouts of a missing person.
Having admitted to Geoffrey Howe's murder, Marshall then stunned the court further as he made an astonishing revelation.
Stephen Marshall's secret past and involvement in gangland murders was revealed to the court today by his own defence barrister, who said that he'd learnt to cut up bodies because he'd done it before, not once but 4 times. Apparently he helped dispose of the victims of gangland executions while he worked as a nightclub doorman in the mid-90s.
He came out with this shock confession almost, which he really didn't have to do.
I was just aghast by the fact that in mitigation, generally people will say that they've had poor upbringings, there's been financial issues, things such as that, but to actually turn around and say in mitigation that they've actually dismembered 4 other bodies was just, well, I've never heard of that before ever.
I assumed we would be looking for somebody who had these skills in their normal, legitimate, professional requirements. Never as somebody, I didn't even know that we had people who were experienced in this for this purposes. It's been a huge learning curve for me. When it turned out that his experience was actually in dismemberment for criminal purposes, that was totally unexpected. It fitted, but it was not something that we had expected to be the answer.
With no need for Marshall and Bush to take the stand, sentencing swiftly followed.
When the sentence was passed, Marshall still didn't really change his demeanour that much. He remained impassive. I would have thought he knew what was coming. Bush came across as pretty vulnerable. She didn't look as stony-faced as Marshall. She was quite hard to read, but she just seemed very young, perhaps slightly naive, out of her depth.
Bush was sentenced for perverting the course of justice and got a sentence of 3 years and 9 months. Marshall got a life sentence, which is a statutory sentence to be given in a murder investigation, but he had a minimum term to serve of 36 years.
And as far as the astonishing evidence Marshall gave in mitigation about his disposal of gangland murder victims' bodies, the Metropolitan Police tell us that no links have been found to any outstanding cases.
I personally think that he's just pure evil, pure evil. We see bad people, we deal with bad people, and we're professional and we try not to take on board what they've done, but I think for Mr. Marshall, he's Just an evil man.
He's got to serve at least 36 years before he's eligible to apply for parole. Now that means he's going to be at least 74 before he's eligible to come out, so it's fair to say he will spend the vast majority of his adult life behind bars, which is where he deserves to be.
Well, they've not met since the 2006 World Cup, but tomorrow night in a friendly at Wembley, they'll face each other again. That's England versus Sweden at 7:30. Next, though, we're off to the zoo.